iHeart, get ready. Fantasy football is here. Welcome to the Full-Time Fantasy Show. FullTimeFantasy.com is home to the Fantasy Football World Championships and the best players in the world. Real money winners giving their secrets to help you win. Now exclusively on iHeart. This is the Full-Time Fantasy Show with your host, the one, the only, Dr. Roto.
Dr. Roto, get out the insurance cards, get out the copay. The office is open, my friends. It's time for our podcast previews to continue. Today, the Chicago Cubs. If you've never gone to Wrigley Field, I highly recommend it. Just make sure you check your tickets first because you don't want an obstructive view because there are a lot of those at Wrigley Field. I went with my wife a couple of years ago. We had good seats, but the people next to us didn't. So you got to be very careful there, but it's still a great place to watch a baseball game. All right, a catcher, Willson Contreras. There's two L's in Wilson, not one. And Willson Contreras is a pretty solid hitter. I mean, he's got 23, 24, 25 home runs, 65 to 75 RBIs. He's solid as a rock. And, you know, when you are looking for a catcher who, I don't want to say won't kill you. He's better than that. I mean, I would say borderline, he's a good catcher. So if you're looking for a good catcher, probably going like round 7, 8, 9, Willson Contreras is your guy. At first base is Anthony Rizzo. Anthony Rizzo is going to bat second this year behind Kris Bryant. This guy is just as consistent as they come. Let me give you some numbers here, right? Since 2014, 32, 31, 32, 32, 25, 27. That's home runs. And then RBIs, 78, 101, 109, 109, 101, 94, 99. I mean, that's just what he does. So you know when you draft Anthony Rizzo exactly what you're getting. And there's a beauty to that. There is a beauty to knowing that. And I think that's because you want predictability. And I think that helps you win fantasy baseball leagues. Now, second baseman is interesting. Is it Nico Horner? Yeah, I don't know about that. Is it Jason Kipnis? Yeah, I don't know about that. Is it Ian Happ? No, he's going to play mostly outfield. Just take a look at David Bote. He's the guy that I think ends up at second base. He's just a guy that the team likes, and I don't think he's a great player, but he plays second. He plays third. If they move Bryant, they'll put Bote there. He's usable. He's like a Ben Zobrist type of guy, if you remember that from years ago. So I think Bote emerges at second. But look, we have to keep our eyes on that one. At shortstop, it's all in Javier Baez, who is a very good player. I think at one time we thought that Baez was not going to be an average guy, but he is an average guy. I think he can hit 280, 290. I fully expect him to hit about 285 this year. I think we're looking at about 30 home runs. We're looking at 90 RBIs. We got another 15 stolen bases in there. Javi Baez is a stud player. Kris Bryant is going to bat leadoff. And here's the thing about Kris Bryant. I think that people were expecting 45 home runs, 120 RBIs. Maybe he'll never be that. Okay? Maybe he'll never be that. But will he hit 285? Will he hit 25 home runs? Will he hit 80 RBIs? Will he score a bunch of runs, maybe over 100? Yeah. So there's nothing that you shouldn't like about Kris Bryant. And if your league is in an OBP league, his OBP is nothing short of sensational. So, you know, let's be looking at Kris Bryant as a foundation piece for our fantasy baseball teams. In the outfield, I am a Kyle Schwarber kind of guy. I'm a believer. I am. I think Schwarber mauls, and I'm just not saying hit. I'm saying mauls righties. Okay? Now, this is a guy that hit 38 home runs last year and 92 RBIs, but he had an awful lot of strikeouts. He struck out 156 times in 529 at-bats. He needs to figure that part out, because otherwise he's going to turn into Adam Dunn. But he can take a walk, but he's got big power. I don't think we've seen the extent of his power. If he hit 40 this year, I wouldn't be shocked. I think he's a really, really good player. Ian Happ is going to start out in the center field. And Ian Happ, the problem is that he's just not a great hitter. And more importantly, he's not a great fielder. I think Albert Almora is a better fielder who plays against lefties. Happ, I just don't know what to tell you about Happ. I think Happ is who he is. He's nothing more than a 20-round kind of guy. And I think this is the problem with the Cubs. Jason Hayward, the other outfielder, I mean, he's 30, but come on, isn't this guy been around the league, the major leagues forever? Doesn't he feel like 40 to you? I mean, maybe he hits 250, maybe he hits 15, 16 home runs. I mean, Jason Hayward is just another name for Nick Markakis. I think if the Cubs really want to win, they got to get rid of Happ and Hayward, and they got to get two better guys in there. All right, let's take a look at the rotation and the bullpen. Kyle Hendricks, not a sexy name at pitcher, but certainly a solid starter. A guy that's going to have an ERA around 3.5. He's going to have 150 strikeouts, very good whip, 13 to 15 wins. He's a good pitcher. He's a good pitcher. He's never a guy that anybody really is dying to draft, but at the end of the year, you look and say, wow, he had pretty good stats. Yu Darvish, we've seen the best of Yu Darvish, and we've seen the worst of Yu Darvish. When Yu Darvish is good, he just piles up the strikeouts, piles them up, and he limits the hits, and he's a real good pitcher. He really is. He's getting older, and there were times that when he looks really ugly. So I'll say this with a caveat. I like Darvish, but just be careful. Be careful, okay? I look at the rest of the team. I'm not a big fan of Jose Quintana. I know some people are. I look at guys who get about 9 to 11 wins, ERAs in the mid-4s, whips over 1.3. I just would rather not be drafting guys like that. I feel the same way about John Lester, and as they say in Boston, John Lester. And I don't really know how I feel. And Tyler Chatwood, for sure, I don't want. So I want Hendricks. I want Yu Darvish. And after that, it's risky. It's risky. At closer, I don't think Craig Kimbrell is the player that we all think he used to be. I mean, at one time, he was a really great pitcher. But I think that he just doesn't have the stuff anymore. And I think his fastball is down. He's not throwing 99 miles an hour. So if he's not throwing 99, he's effective, but he's not as effective. All of a sudden, closers, when they start throwing 94, 95, 96, they become very hittable. Let me give you a name to file away, and this is maybe a second half name. So Rowan Wick, okay, struck out a lot of guys. He lets up too many walks. That's true, lets up too many walks. But if Kimbrell's not right, and they end up trading Kimbrell because they end up losing, take a look at Rowan Wick. He may end up being the closer, okay? I'm not sure I love him, and I think there are too many walks there, but he's somebody I've got my eyeballs on. And right now, that's important, right? Because here we are, we're projecting ahead as to what could happen this season. If the Cubs are competitive and the Cubs are playing well, well, then Kimbrell will have every opportunity to be the closer. If they start doing poorly and they start trading off pieces or getting, cutting guys, and now Rowan Wick could be the closer in the second half of the year. So that's why you want to look at him. All right, you know what else you want to look at? You want to look at Sean Childs' team outlooks, and they can be found at fulltimefantasy.com. Enter the promo code ROTO50, and we'll give you 50% off your first 2 months. All right, guys, you can also catch me on FNTSY, Fantasy Sports Radio, from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern, every day as we discuss the world of fantasy sports. All right, this is Dr. Roto. Well, actually, you know what? I got to say, it's time to put away the insurance cards, put away the copay. The office is closed, my friends. This is Dr. Roto saying be well and take care.
Thanks for listening to Full Time Fantasy. There's never been a better time to join and go full time. Visit fulltimefantasy.com. Use the promo ROTO50 for 50% off your first 2 months. And don't forget, fantasy players, please thumbs up the podcast on the iHeart app. See you next time.